Hi, good morning. It's nice to see all of you here. It's a brand new day, and we come to you with news analysis under the BKBB banner, which is an acronym for Bhaskar Ki Business Baatein. This is a channel which normally brings you every week policy analysis, conversations, and occasional business stories. But at this time, at 8:15, we bring you news behind the news. And today my co-anchor is Anurag. Anurag, nice to have you here. And the titles that both Anurag and I will be discussing are given on your screen. The first is a shocking revelation that India has become the most speculative market in the world, thanks to the government of India abetting speculation. The second is a worrying story, but very important, on how India is becoming more dependent on the USA and has forgotten the rest of the world. And the third one is something that all of you would love to hear about, if not for yourselves, for your children or your friends who are looking for a job. What is it that employers are looking for? We discuss all the three. Let's take the first story first. In a report in Mint, it was disclosed that India's small consumers, investors, lost about 1 trillion rupees or 1 lakh crore just last year, which is about 6% of household financial savings. Now, obviously, when household financial savings 6% goes away, it has major macroeconomic implications. And the problem is that India has always promoted speculation, whether it is Harshad Mehta, or it is Ketan Parekh, or it is C.R. Bansali, or it is currently. In the last few years, just consider this. In the last few years, from double digits, the option markets has grown 400 times the cash market. And to compare it, look at the futures market, which is only 2 times the cash market. That should make people sit up. And that is not all. India today accounts for 60% of global option trades, contracts. 60% is a large number considering that India accounts only for 4% of global market capitalization. Even the US has a smaller share. And how has India promoted speculation? One, by allowing more foreigners to come in with tax concessions, with no tax, through Gift City, because the government wants Gift City to become vibrant and wants to show the world that India is a place every market person looks at. We want foreign direct investments, not speculative money. Yet the government has promoted this method. So foreigners make money, Indians don't. But then when money is made, small investors also get in. And small investors are not equipped to deal with the situation, so they lose money. Now that has an implication on savings and in investments. The money that could have gone into investment channels in India for creating jobs, for creating wealth for the families, has now been frittered away and taken away by the foreigners. This is Mera Bharat Mahan. Anyway, let's go to a second more worrying story, and that's by Anurag. Anurag, could we have you?
Good morning. Today, behind the headline of shrinking Indian exports, a fascinating story of shifting trade winds emerges. While India's overall exports in June edged down, one destination, the United States, stood out. Shipments to America soared at 23.5% year on year, crossing $8.3 billion for June alone. Indian exporters raced to make the most of a special 90-day window, moving goods before possible US reciprocal tariffs kick in. The shadow of global trade tensions, fanned by US policy shifts, Has Indian commerce officially in wait and watch mode, with little clarity on how new tariffs will reshape competitive dynamics. But there's a bigger story brewing. India's export playbook remains heavily weighted toward a few large markets, especially the US. This growing dependence exposes Indian trade to global shocks and policy jolts. So, what if India diversified? Data shows that exports to Australia are poised to hit $15 billion by the end of 2025, nearly doubling in a decade, thanks to a new trade agreement and untapped sectors like pharmaceuticals and engineering goods. Meanwhile, Indian exports to New Zealand, though smaller, around $617 million, are climbing, focused on pharma, machinery, and textiles. But more importantly, South Asian neighbors, with a combined population nearing 2 billion, offer a vast but underexplored market hungry for Indian consumer goods, processed foods, and electronics. The more India diversifies its export destinations and product lines, the more resilient and prosperous it becomes. Diversification isn't just a hedge against tariffs or slowdowns. It sparks better relations with its neighboring countries. Moreover, creates new jobs and higher value industries plus contraction in trade deficits. The export surge to the US makes headlines. The opportunities hidden in untapped markets of Asia could script India's next chapter in global trade. What's your take on this, sir?
Anurag, you raised some very valid concerns. India, at a time of global turbulence, should look at new markets. As you rightly point out, 2 billion people live in Southeast Asia, larger than India's population. Shouldn't you be looking there? Every person who's alive is a market. India is looking at shrinking markets of the West where populations are shrinking or are just about stable. And is looking at a white skins market in spite of saying that India must shed colonialism. What is India doing? It's making itself more vulnerable. It refuses to look at Southeast markets. It goes only after Australia, New Zealand, and USA and EU. Look at the bigger markets. Look at the way ASEAN grows. Look at the way China grows out its $1 trillion of exports last year. 50% was to non-US markets. Thank you, Anurag. Something that policymakers need to think about. And the last item that we're going to discuss is something that should endear everybody who's looking for jobs, or planning for jobs, or advising people on jobs. Look at the chart next to you on the right hand side. The skills that are most in demand are basically digital literacy. If you don't have digital literacy, organizations may not hire you. And yet, what does the government do? 50% of government schools are without internet connectivity. Can you ever have digital literacy without computers, without internet connectivity? Yet the government does not do it. And look at high up on the list, number 3 is communications. You need to have more communications. And yet government after government is talking language. Language is not communication. Communication is a language which any parent wants his child to learn and any employer wants a child to learn. Don't talk about language. Get out of that stupid framework. You have to go into what the marketplace wants because that is what businessmen want. That is where the jobs are. These are the skills the market needs. Are India's policymakers listening or paying attention? And that brings me to the end of today's session. Have a great day ahead. But before I go ahead, 2 things. First, a reminder. Please click the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber already. And the second one is that if you have subscribed, Click the like button. And the third part is, please tell your friends about us. That was the first communication that I had to make. The second communication is to address some of the comments that we have received. The first comment is, how does India reduce speculation? Very simple. Remove the tax-free concessions that you're going to Gift City. Don't divert money right now from the major exchanges which are already there to a Gift City just because you want to promote it. Make sure that Indians earn more through speculation than foreigners coming in, making money from speculation and taking it away from the country. India needs to create jobs. It needs to have its money within India. Anyway, let's go to the second question. Why are exports to the US increasing? Very simple. As soon as Trump became president, our Prime Minister went and met him and assured him that India would increase its trade with America to $400 billion before the end of this decade, 5 years later. America's trade is just 130 billion. How will it increase it? So people are being encouraged to export to USA so that you can make USA happy. That is not what we want. And there's a third question. Is Jane Street just the tip of the iceberg? Of course, it's just the tip of the iceberg. 36,000 crores disappearing is just the tip, so you can imagine what the rest is. Remember, it's 400 times. The options trade is 400 times the cash market compared to 2 digits just a few years ago. Futures is just 2%. You need to stop the speculation urgently right now. And the third question is on the markets and employers. If employers want candidates to have a certain language skill, why isn't the government listening? Good question. I wish someone could tell me the answer. It defeats me completely. This is what happens when you're more government, less governance. In any case, have a lovely day. I hope we can make some change. You can make some change to the way policies have been crafted in the country. And I look forward to seeing you once again tomorrow morning with more news, with more explanations. Thank you. Have a great day.